Good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday, July 21st, 2024. I'm in New Jersey. We had a powerful full moon this morning here at around 6 a.m. a few hours ago. And, or if you're on the West Coast, it'd be 3 a.m. If you're in Europe, 5 hours later, so probably around 11 a.m. It's been a minute since I've come on to do an update, so I thought I would just talk about the astrological weather we've been experiencing and dealing with, and just some of my thoughts around what I think it might be about. I'm not even remembering if I've talked about the other full moon on here or not, but I'll talk a little bit about both. So today we have a full moon in Capricorn, in the last degree of Capricorn, 29 degrees. Depending on your time zone, today, tomorrow, the sun will be moving into Leo. So we're having a sun change in the next 24 hours. So just to note that. But this is the second full moon in the sign of Capricorn. The first one was 28 days ago, and it was in the early degrees of Capricorn. So I think it was at 0 or even 1 degree, maybe 2. And this one is at 28, 29 degrees. And so when we talk about the first degree or the last degree of any sign, we're generally talking about endings and beginnings. So that's just one thing to get, that with these two full moons, there's very much, and not only that, Capricorn is a very initiating earth energy. And this particular full moon is in a trine to where, Uranus is in Taurus. So all the earth signs form a trine. So this being in earth sign Capricorn, this full moon means that it is trining the planets in the late degrees of the other earth signs, so Virgo and Uranus. Now let's talk about Uranus, because Uranus was on display this week and the week before. For any of you who've had some sudden events, sudden epiphanies, sudden change come into your life, this could have been because of Mars coming to Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So Uranus has been in Taurus for a while now, for many years. But Mars moves through a sign in at relatively quick pace. And so, but when it and Uranus come together, which it doesn't all the time, it takes a while for those two to actually come together, it can create this energy that brings a lot of heat, and action, and that suddenness. It only escalates the sudden aspects of Uranus when Mars comes into the picture. Now, when it comes to Uranus, it's the planet of rebellion. It's the planet of liberation and freedom. So even though we hate, usually as humans, change, we don't usually enjoy the process of change. Uranus is here to help us with that, and just kind of forcing our hand. Uranus can be any change that is and I believe most change it's for the spirit of freedom and liberation for you in some way. So I always use the example of Uranus is like lightning. So for instance, when lightning strikes, it's very scary in the moment. It might even cause a fire and disruption of some form. That's kind of the quality that Uranus can have, just like kind of comes in and interrupts. And while it's scary in the moment, that tree coming down is even sad. It's sad to have anything get struck by lightning, but like if a tree comes down, we forget the other parts of what the tree now is able to do, in its own, I guess, like contribution to the greater whole. So basically now that tree becomes fertilizer into the earth, as it starts to disintegrate and morph and transform. And not only that, for those of us that had that tree in that way, now we have a different view. We have new perspective because that tree is no longer there. We literally see things differently. So that's what I feel this Mars and Uranus energy really was about, is that it was to bring in this energy that was like the kind of change or the kind of events that, that would have you shift your perspective. So obviously there's things that we're seeing on the national global front, attempted, assassinations and things like that on the political lens. But I would wonder if you noticed in your own life in the last, I'd say 2-ish weeks, because this would have been sort of building over the week prior. It perfected on Monday, this past Monday. And so, which I believe was the 15th. So basically from, July 6th, 7th, 8th, starting around then until I would say through pretty much the end of this weekend through this full moon cycle, I would say, really. This energy, this sort of sudden event energy is there. And I would just wonder if you've noticed anybody around you personally that's had some sudden change and sudden events happen that are seemingly difficult. I don't know about you, but I've been hearing about also death. And why do we think about death? Well, the other thing that this full moon was doing, so we have a few things going on. So Pluto, the furthest out planet, let's work our way in basically, has been hovering around the 29th degree of Capricorn. It went into Aquarius this year. It's retrograding back to this 29th degree of Capricorn where today's full moon was. It's going to go there, and then it's going to flip around this fall, and then it's going to forever go forward into Aquarius. We'll be done with its chapter, essentially like a 16-year chapter in Capricorn. But this full moon that we are having today, where we're having some illumination, is in this 29th degree, where this major planet has been hovering, will be moving out. So not only is this going to affect those of us with personal placements in the late degrees of Capricorn, early degrees of Aquarius, it would also be the placements that are in cardinal signs, so Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra, those 4 signs in the late degrees of those signs. So again, this is only for those of you that know your placements and your general degrees, or the early signs of the early fixed signs, early degrees of the fixed signs. So Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius. Those areas are getting very much this impact and power coming from Pluto. So this full moon sitting right there where Pluto's been sitting. The things that have been going on with Uranus and Taurus when Mars came through is in Taurus, a fixed sign in the late degrees. So it's also has a relationship to Pluto that is in this case in a square formation. It's from Earth to Earth is in a harmonious agreement. Like there's harmonious energy between these two things happening. But generally when we think about Pluto, it's death and rebirth cycles. So healing. I want you to think of healing, and I want you to think about potentially sudden old stuff is coming up. And so this energy that's in Taurus, Uranus and Mars, bringing stuff up, sudden events happening, changing our perspective, is allowing us to heal Pluto where we need to heal before we move into this new, what I would call Age of Aquarius chapter, where Pluto will be entering Aquarius and be there for, I think, about 20 years. So those are 2 outer planet movements with some help from Mars helping out with Uranus. That's a lot. I would feel that we would be feeling pressure, because that's what also Pluto does, is it adds pressure to wherever it is. So anything that it's connected to, it's adding some pressure. I've been feeling that pressure. We've had some sudden events in our family this past week that were just, my extended family. They're shocking, and it's taken probably a good week just to process what actually happened. And because death was involved, there's going to be services. And so, when we're ever in these, chapters where there's a death that happens quite literally with a human or potentially a pet or even someone in your community, someone famous. There's obviously been a lot of deaths that have happened, kind of in the public eye over the last couple weeks as well. We get this reminder, I've been feeling it particularly in this last 24 hours as this full moon has been erupting. I'm also a Capricorn rising, so this very much is about my identity and affecting that. And kind of all the work I've been doing on my identity, I would say during this Pluto cycle that, where it's been in Capricorn since 2008. I've had all kinds of things happen in that time frame, as I'm sure you have as well. So it would be good for you to reflect on what's gone on since 2008, because we're in this finishing up chapter in these next months. So there could be pressure coming from what do you need to leave behind. That's what this healing opportunity is about. The other thing I want to talk about, I'm just going to take a sip of coffee. is that what comes with this sort of shift into this age of Aquarius, excuse me, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, at least in modern astrology, also by Saturn in traditional astrology, which rules Capricorn. So there is this shifting of the guard that happens with rulers, even though there's sort of this continuum of Saturn energy that comes through. But when we add in Uranian, Uranus as Uranus here as the planet, I should say, that affects this sign, is about this sign, because Aquarius is all about, it's very future oriented and humanitarianism. It wants to do things for the people. It's interested in societal structures, whereas Capricorn is more institutional. So we have this shift happening, and we all are shifting along with it. There's parts of us that are being left behind, and there's grief that comes with that, because one, it's a way of life that we're leaving behind. As we discover the truth, Pluto, of the world around us, that maybe we're seeing things from a new perspective that we haven't seen from before. We change. In my case, I feel like I'm changing it very much at the identity level. And when we have death and rebirth happening in our life, those cycles in our life, it's very much a reminder of the clock that's ticking in our time here on this planet, and what is our real purpose here, and what is important and what is not important. So I really, really just wanted to emphasize that with this full moon cycle, with this Mars and Uranus conjunction that happened this week. We are now moving into Leo, where we have an opportunity where the sun, I always think when we get into Leo season, the sun is on us. The sun is shining on our self-expression, on our personality, and I would allow yourself to be very physical in this next 30-day cycle. Get out and about, move your physical body, because with this shift as we move into Aquarius, we're getting what I would call like upgrades, energetic upgrades. At least if you've been paying attention to the things going on around you. I don't know, you've likely been picking up on these subtle shifts that are happening, but they're pretty much happening at rapid speeds. And when those things happen in a very quantum rapid level, our bodies have to catch up. And so I just want you to be aware of when you have a day where your body is like, I am not doing anything, trust that. That is like, earth signs. So Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, and this full moon ruling earth in earth. And this big thing that happened, the last week in an earth sign, Taurus, that's going to affect us on a very physical level. Earth rules the physical and our physical bodies, and Virgo rules health in our body. So just these, I want you to know that you may be feeling some physical discomforts, physical shifts, maybe even you're just aware of transitions your body is going through, new chapters it's going through. Every 7 or 8 years, depending on if you're a male or female, your hormonal cycles shift. So just know that some of us may be going through those different changes. All of these changes, Uranus, affects the way that we take action in our life, and the way that maybe we also need to relax into life to allow change to happen. So on the physical body level, movement is good for getting things out, for that detox sort of effect, letting things go. However, because we are still kind of in the peak of yang at this time of year in July here, at least in the northern hemisphere. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're in the peak of yin, which means there's not a lot of energy. You want to be mindful how you spend it, is kind of my point. Because it's very easy during Leo season to be very, like I said, active and out and about and socializing and, doing all the fun stuff, vacationing. But go easy on yourselves, because we are going through a very big chapter change, I'd say, on this planet. And I think it's good for all of us to be paying attention and giving ourselves a lot of space. So with that said, I wanted to just give you a little heads up for August that it is a definite, when we talk about space, it's a month to leave space. Do not overwhelm your August. We have all the planets are starting to move into retrograde fashion. Mercury will be joining the party. The outer planets have been retrograding. So we've got now in this inner planet, Mercury, which is our communication and, information and the way that we think is going to be going backwards. So I feel like all of this change we're going through and this propelling forward, there's going to be this sudden like, okay, now sit still or back up a little bit and reflect on everything that's just come your way. All these upgrades, all these new insights, all these new ways of seeing things. Maybe new people have even walked into your life. How all of these energies affect us individually depends on your chart and what's going on in your chart. I just want to give the general flavor of what one might be experiencing right now. Okay, so with that said, I'm just encouraging you to, like I said, slow down. Make sure you rest when your body feels like it needs rest. Just give it what it needs because it's doing more than you know. Baths and soaks and being in salt water are an excellent thing to be doing on both sides of the equation. It's great for helping to let things go, but it's also very restorative and very nurturing to do. So I highly encourage that behavior if you're on vacation and have the opportunity to be in fresh water of some form. If not, bathe, like getting into a hot tub or into, the tub is great, in any way, just allowing your body to kind of ground in some fashion into where your nervous system can kind of take it down a notch, especially when we're hearing of all these chaotic events and things going on either in our personal lives or on the public stage. It's important for us and our bodies to realize we're always safe within ourselves. We are in charge of the discussion that is had within ourselves. And I think that that's a part of what these endings are about, is it's time to end some conversations within ourselves. Aries, it rules Mars, and generally Aries is the sign of I am. And, with that planet Mars going through, the energy of Uranus, it's coming through an identity change at some level, or an action change that shifts one's way of seeing themselves. So I would think about that. I think for a lot of people, it's a habit. Because it's around the physical body. This could be around eating. This could obviously be around any kind of overconsumption of any form. And that's literally of any form. So just to take stock in your life, or where may you be over-consuming with social media, with technology, with food, with sex, with drugs, with alcohol, with escapism of any form. Also with the opposite. Obsession with yourself and your body, and almost too much exercise, too much focus on one's eating to the point of really being critical in the way that one looks at oneself in the mirror. We want to balance those energies out with this. When energy is sort of emphasized in the earth signs, that can come up a little bit more. This sort of obsessive, worrisome type of thinking. So. Okay, I think I'm going to end there before I digress into another topic, because I can feel more coming that would pull me in a different direction. So for this weekend, go easy. It's a full moon. We're coming out of this Uranus energy with Mars. Just be mindful of your surroundings. Know that the outer planets have started to move backwards, so that we're moving into some more reflective periods. If you've had a lot of acceleration forward, things should start to slow down. In August, things will slow down. In one capacity. It doesn't mean it's not going to actually be frustrating and annoying, though, because we're going to have Saturn retrograding, Pluto's retrograde, Neptune, I believe, will be retrograde, Uranus eventually, and Mercury in August. So just be aware of that energy starting to pull us backwards as well. And when we're aware of that, then we can be less triggered when it happens. We can realize this is a time of reflection. This is a time of me understanding where I've been moving very fast, and maybe I need to take some time to let my body catch up to the experience. So be kind to yourself. That's the probably biggest message I have for you. And be brave and courageous in whatever way you need. If that means making a decision to support yourself or your health or your relationship, your quality of life with your children, family, parents, etc. Whatever that is. Maybe you're making a new promise and a new commitment towards something that is very important to you. Okay. All right. Lots of love. I hope you have a wonderful remaining full moon day. You'll be feeling this energy probably throughout today, Sunday, the 21st. And happy Leo season for everybody starting tomorrow. Know that there is some nice little supportive energy in the background going on. Mars is, now that it's, moved away from Uranus, it's got some other really nice things going on. So just go slow, take some nice supportive action for yourself. Okay. Farewell.